Hello, my name is Jacob Mano-Panipinto. This is my presentation on the opioid crisis and prescription drug issues. That is my topic, and my theme is the government and the economy. So, some questions to consider throughout this presentation is my topic is question. How have prescription and pharmaceutical policies contributed to the opioid crisis? My thematic essential question: how does government involvement in the economy influence public health crisis, and what responsibility should I have in regulating industries to protect citizens? And something on the opioid crisis itself: why should we study this in our own schools and our own curriculum? Um, well, to answer this, we first have to go to the start of the epidemic. It was started in 1996 with Purdue Pharma when they launched OxyContin. Um, Purdue Pharma amassed over $1 billion in sales by 2000, and the company spent hundreds of millions to drive its uptake, funding pain management conferences, connecting patients to willing prescribers, um, and printing "Get in the Swing with OxyContin" CDs as a marketing ploy, which really is just disgusting how they took advantage of people um, with pain management conferences, using CDs as a marketing ploy. It's really terrible. That's why we need the government to implore more restrictions on these companies, but like Purdue Pharma, to stop all these just horrible tactics that they use to really just benefit themselves with all this money. Um, uh, the opioid epidemic in numbers. Sorry. So since the start of the opioid epidemic in 1996, there's been 645,000 deaths. That is simply a rough estimate, as well as deaths from just simply non-prescription drugs. Non-prescription opioids. Sorry. This is a very rough estimate of over 100,000 deaths, just from non-prescription opioids. This number, 125 million, is the number of opioids prescribed every year. So this is an annual number. And from that, we get the 645,000 deaths. From this, the amount of people who have used that are age 12 and up are nearly 9 million that have abused these opioids. Um, who knows how many have died from that and how many have made just bad decisions because of this. And with 70,000 fatal overdoses in 2017 alone, an average of 192 deaths per day, drugs now kill more people than HIV and AIDS at the height of the AIDS and HIV epidemic in 1995, according to Schnell, which is crazy simply because the HIV and AIDS epidemic was is still considered one of the most deadly epidemics in American history and in the globe, really. Opioid abuse in high schoolers. So about 7.2% of high schoolers have abused prescription opioids. Um, there is an unknown number of high schoolers who have abused illicit or illegal opioids. There is no precise number of how many have done that. When children experience family issues at home, they are more likely to take injection drugs and likely opioids as well. Of course, there are injection opioids like morphine and heroin, uh, primarily. Um, and when children experience family issues or ACEs or adverse childhood experiences, are 1,000 times more likely to use injection drugs later in life, like heroin and morphine. And even then, there's still possibilities for them to use oxycontin and fentanyl, hydrocodone, and stuff like that. Um, and to stop this, we really need school health and mental health providers, along with educators and school administrators, to play a critical role in delivering these prevention messages. This is why we need not necessarily a class, but more of like maybe a whole unit on something like this, possibly in health, biology, something like that, because this is really something that could be detrimental to the future of our schools. Um, Another campaign is One Pill Can Kill campaign. Um, they it's a campaign um, federally funded, especially uh, by President Biden, giving 85 million in harm reduction services, which is part of the One Pill Can Kill campaign. So, I apologize. Um, but something that the One Pill Can Kill campaign that they do is teach the difference between real and fake pills, um, with this infographic or this graphic on these two pills, saying both are pills, but one can kill. So possibly this one has fentanyl, and this one is just the pure, say, oxycontin pill. Um, it it features a side by side picture of a blue oxycontin pill, 30 milligrams, and a counterfeit example that are, as the quote says, indistinguishable from each other. So many cannot tell the difference between these. Um, Something that I found interesting is a connection between Vietnam and the opioid epidemic. Um, the 2016 overdose deaths on just simply opioids reached 59,000, which is more than the U.S. deaths during the Vietnam War, which is really crazy because the Vietnam War was infamous for being a very deadly war. The One Pill Can Kill campaign was trying to bring back trust with the people, federally funding this. It was all a ploy to gain back trust, while also being efficient in getting help to these individuals that abuse these pills and injections and all these drugs. Because trust was lost with the government, similar to during the Vietnam War, which happened to an unwillingness to help many, until the public was enraged. They were very mad at the government for not providing any help, and in fact helping these companies that just kept producing these drugs, these opioids, because their spending was questionable. They kept funding all these opioid producing factories and companies that did all this stuff. Many pills come in many opioids come in pill form. Oxycodone and hydrocodone are the most common. Heroin is the most common illegal illicit party drug, next to the up and rising fentanyl, which is the deadliest thing on the market right now. That is an opioid, produced primarily by China right now. It's being imported through all these different ways. Fentanyl and morphine are common drugs that many people end up taking. Um, all these, in most cases, can be reversed by naloxone. Naloxone is an opioid antagonist that is used to temporarily reverse the effects of an opioid overdose, namely slowed or stop breathing. So, this is these two, slowed or stop breathing, they are something that naloxone can reverse temporarily while you wait for professional medical help. And expanding the awareness and availability of this medication is a key part of the public health response to the opioid epidemic. I apologize. As these this naloxone opioid antagonist is available over the counter in over 30 states. Some are in vending machines across the state. So these are widely accessible, trying to prevent all these overdoses. This is what can happen if you end up taking all these opioids, just doing all this bad stuff with illegal opioids, abusing your prescription opioids. Many who continue to abuse opioids, they die. Unfortunately, they overdose from all these opioids. Some don't know that they are laced with fentanyl. They don't know that they're ingesting counterfeit pills. Yeah. If not killed, many are arrested for using opioids, or they are arrested for selling opioids or giving opioids to others. Some may not even know that they're counterfeit, and that's how they get caught. And unfortunately, due to the legal system and due to just common sense, you cannot be doing that. Of course, you cannot be giving your illegal drugs to other people, whether you knew they were counterfeit or not. This leads to jail time until you're convicted, and then you serve in prison, losing years of your life. You lose time that you cannot get back. It's just terrible. Why should we study this? Of course, to reduce all this trauma that you can cause later in your life, like death and imprisonment. Without properly intercepting students while they were in school, many turn to these illicit opioids and abuse them. They become just bad students. They don't go far in life. Um, they die, a lot of them. Something that we need to do is spread this awareness that these drugs, there are counterfeits out there for them, and they can die from this. They don't know what they are really taking. Mathematic EQ was, which was how does the government involvement in the economy influence public health crisis, and what responsibility should it have in regulating industries to protect citizens. I use this quote from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, saying naloxone is an opioid antagonist that is used to temporarily reverse the effects of an opioid overdose, namely slow to stop breathing. This is, of course, the one I used earlier. Expanding the awareness and availability of this medication is a key part of the public health response to the opiate epidemic. This is something that this is something that I talked about earlier. The government has ordered naloxone to be available over the counter in over 30 states, showing their willingness to help the public and stop opioid deaths and opioid addiction. They want to also stop this crisis. My topic EQ, which was how has prescription and pharmaceutical policies contributed to the opioid crisis. I use this quote also from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The resulting unpredictability in illegal drug products is dramatically increasing the risk of fatal overdoses. Another contributing factor to the rise in opioid overdose deaths is an increasing number of individuals receiving higher doses of prescription opioids for long-term management of chronic pain. Furthermore, while opioid prescriptions peaked in 2012 and have steadily declined since, the clinical use of opioids in the United States remains at 3 times the level observed in 2000. That is a quote from Schnell. Um, um, Aggressive marketing and over-prescription of opioids like Oxycontin by pharmaceutical companies fueled widespread addiction, leading many to seek illegal alternatives. Um, it's really these companies, these policies put in place by the government and by hospitals and places that just use these opioids or are involved directly with this crisis, like the government. They were funding all these things that, all these policies and everything that increase the addiction levels, increase deaths. So, yeah. That is all. These are all my references that I used during this project. Um, Thank you for staying to the end. Um, Thank you.